Gamachi. Um, on my way from the airport to the accommodation, the taxi driver asked me where I'm from. And then when I told him, he said, Mando Mano. So for those in the room who know where that's from, I look that you'll pick up as the story goes. I'm going to begin with an experience that completely changed my life. On 30th of December 2007, the presidential elections results were announced back in Kenya, and the results led to civil unrest. The results brought so much violence, and at the time I was a teenager. I'm not going to expose my age so that you do the math. But as you can see from this image, can you see the image behind me? You can see this image here. So how did I find out what was happening around me? I had gunshots in my mother's kitchen, and I'd never had gunshots before. I actually thought they were fireworks or worse, tear gas, but they were actually gunshots. And so quickly, in a moment of panic, knowing that someone very close to me was involved in politics, I was concerned for their safety. And so what happened was everybody gets on the news and we see that there's violence erupting in different parts of Nairobi and then subsequently across the entire country. So the post-election violence of Kenya in 2007 to 2008 led to 1,100 people losing their lives, and whereas 600,000 people were displaced internally. Just by the show of your hands, is anybody here aware of the post-election violence that took place in Kenya? All right, thank you for sharing that. So this is really what's made me develop a burden for social justice. I had an opportunity to volunteer with the Kenya Red Cross, and I was in high school at the time, and so this was my first time interacting with people who have been affected by something so serious and disturbing. And the question I asked myself was, where are the leaders? This question is something I want you to lock in as we talk about what my journey has been from this incident. So the question I want you to ask yourself is, where are the leaders? Thank you. All right, so my journey of social justice led me to pursue a law degree in university. And I thought that law was the answer to injustice, but actually I realized that I was more interested in community empowerment and using social justice as a tool to meet that need. And so what happened was, after pursuing a law degree in university, I came back home, and I think the previous speakers have all talked about parental expectations and how you either do law, medicine, or engineering. And the others is, we'll talk about it, but you first do this one, and then we'll discuss the other one that you want to do. And so as someone who did pursue the thing that was expected, I ended up taking a different journey and decided that I was going to focus on impact. And so there's a selfie here. Can you see the selfie? This is a selfie of me during the pandemic. So what happened was, can somebody just guess what's happening in this picture? Pardon? I'm relocating? Yes. Actually, I lost my job and I couldn't pay rent where I was staying. And at this point, the face mask I'm wearing, of course, back in Kenya at the time when the pandemic was announced, the rule was for motorists, you had to drive with a face mask or else you get arrested. And so this was actually at the beginning of the pandemic. For many employers at the time, the minute there was a pandemic, either you lost your job or you got a salary caps because they could see things are not going to be good in the future. And so fast forward, I'm unemployed. I'm confused as to what this means for me. And I was basically about to go into a depression. I was broke. So I was in the basement of the apartment I was living in, and all these items in this picture are all the items I'd owned. And basically, this was me in my car taking a selfie, going back to my parents' home. And I think, I don't know if you guys are like many other people, like us on stage right now, but there is a shame that accompanies losing a job and having to go back home, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But something told me to take a selfie, and really it was for this reason. So I go home, and of course, I come from a very lovely family, and they received me well, they were supportive of me. And the same evening, I kid you not, I go on social media, and I come across a post that was showing that families in Kariobangi, which is an informal settlement in Nairobi, that there were families who were evicted in the middle of the night. And I was literally on my bed with access to Wi-Fi, right? Because I'm gonna fit a very clear picture with access to Wi-Fi, having just had dinner, looking at this post and wondering what kind of a person evict families in the middle of the night. And my question was, where are the leaders? So I went to Kariobangi myself. I went to actually just see what was happening there. And I believe that the reason I was drawn to Kariobangi is because I empathized with those families. As someone who had lost my job, I was looking at the pictures and I was wondering, I mean, I have a roof over my head. I have a family I can go back to. I have access to the internet. Literally, my laptop was playing Netflix on my study desk. I had just had dinner. And here I'm looking at families that have been evicted that had nothing left. And so the images that were posted on social media were of families that were living on debris. So you can see here a collage of images. Can you see the pictures behind me? So basically there was a settlement here of, I would say, around 7,000 people. And the houses were brought down, they were demolished by tractors in the middle of the night. And these are images I took on my phone. I took these images on my phone because I wanted to post them on social media and share with my very small community at the time what was actually happening in the middle of a pandemic. I think I had probably around maybe 800 max followers. It was a private account, just my friends from maybe, places you've traveled to, school, and places you've worked before. I posted these pictures, and with the consent of some of the families that I met, I shared some of the videos online, and of a specific gentleman called Daniel Kogi. Daniel Kogi told us, myself, and others on social media, that in the middle of the night, tractors came and demolished their houses. And the pictures you can see here, can you see the shoe? That's a shoe of his wife. Those are his pair of jeans. And can you see the shelter here? This is actually where I found him sitting when I went to the eviction site. And he didn't know who I was. I wasn't there as the Red Cross. I wasn't there as UNHCR. I was there as myself in a pair of jeans. Thank you. I was there as myself in a pair of jeans, wanting to just know how I could help. So this is what I was wearing. Can you see the face mask is the same as I was wearing the selfie after being kicked out of my home? I didn't say I got packs. But I took this picture because I was telling the person behind the camera that I wanted people to see the damage of the evictions. But I didn't realize I was actually talking to them and telling them, perhaps leave me move behind and take this scene, because I wanted to have the background of the eviction site in the picture. But somehow this is the image that the person took. I was like, okay, fine. So I go home in the evening, I post a series of these pictures on my social media, telling people what I've seen today, right? And I just post them and I go to bed. In the morning I woke up and I had over 500 people messaging me, asking me how they could contribute to help David Kogi. So, you're not going to give your phone number to everybody on social media, right? And I had no idea how community online fundraising platforms worked. So I created an online kitty called this Kariobangi Evictions. and I added the link to my bio. And the reason I'm making this very simple for you is so that you can see that you also have the power to be able to help those around you. I created an online kitty, and that was Monday. By Friday, the kitty had already reached 2 million Kenya shillings, which is around $20,000. And so with this $20,000, we were able to help 600 families, and we did this through relief care packages. This is a community where, do you remember there was a time when face masks could be reused just because they were not still in the market? And so you buy reusable face masks, you wash them. But I was helping families who could not afford to wear face masks. They were actually using, you know, the socks that get torn and you throw away the dustbin and you don't know where they end up? They end up in plastic like that. And those were the things they were using on their face. And then they use a shoelace to tie it at the back. Because I don't think it was the same in Uganda. Back in Kenya, there were it was an offense to not walk around with a face mask at the time. And the families I was interacting with were paying, these were families who pay an average of $10 rent a month. So these are the kind of people who had been evicted in the middle of the night. And so for them to have received support from Kenyans, and I say Kenyans, it's because when we were looking at the fundraising contributions, because you can see the names of these people, these were Kenyans across the world who had seen the plight of what happened in Kariobangi, and they decided to contribute to this kitty. So what we did was we had a clear call to action. So we raised awareness with the pictures that I've just shared. We shared videos of the families that were affected. We shared real stories of like that of Wisakogi, and we showed people how they could help. So that we're not leaving you feeling despair, but we're actually showing you how you can actually contribute. And I remember people contributing from as little as 50 Kenya shillings, which is about $4 to 1,500 British pounds. So that's the range, So that's the range that people were contributing from across the world. And when I shared those pictures again, I did not think that we were going to reach that amount of money. So we had to come up with a team. I had to come up with a team of volunteers who would help at the time. I faced many challenges with this because during the pandemic, we had to commit ourselves to following the COVID guidelines. Do you guys remember social distancing? Do you remember that there had to be X amount of people in a certain room? We should be so grateful that we were able to survive a period like that. But the pandemic really changed my life. Working on this project led me to see that the power in digital activism. And digital activism that actually raises awareness about people and the planet. And when I talk about the planet, I know you're wondering, we've gone from law, we've gone to pandemic, we've got it to the planet. But the planet is important. The purpose I believe I have is for the care of our well-being as people. And we can't talk about our well-being as people without talking about the environments that we live in. Did you know that 600 million people in Africa don't have access to electricity? Did you guys know that? Isn't that a startling statistic? But I'm going to bring it back here to Uganda. In Uganda, according to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, a report in 2022, only 43% of Ugandans have access to electricity. Of these 43% who have access to electricity, only 78% come from the capital center, from urban centers, and 17% are in the rural community. 17% of people in the rural community only have access to electricity. So what's happening to the other bigger percentage of people who don't have access to electricity? If it wasn't for electricity in this room right now, would you even be listening to what I was saying? Would Leos be able to convene this forum? Would the ladies have been able to do their makeup in the morning? Would the men have been able to shave in the morning unless you use a knife? Access to electricity, as I know that climate change is a conversation as Africans we feel is so far out. We have other things we can think about, like healthcare, education, unemployment. But I can tell you have you ever gone a day without access, without electricity and felt like you're about to lose your mind? Yeah. I think just in the few days I've been here, and even today, I've had a lot of jokes about Tidand and electricity. And the fact that you're laughing means you agree with me. So, access to electricity is important. Energy poverty is an issue that as Africans, we need to stop taking lightly. Can you imagine a family in an off-grid community with no access to electricity? How are the children studying for exams at night? They're probably using a candle. How are they storing their food overnight? How are hospitals running without access to electricity? How are schools running without access to electricity? How are you creating digital transformation for off-grid communities that don't have access to electricity? And so my background in advocacy, starting all the way from the post-election violence, going to pursue law, to understand how social justice can be tangible, to losing my job in the pandemic, landing in advocacy work, and using digital activism to raise awareness about issues affecting Africans, while also creating a solution and showing people how to help, has made me realize that can exchange is not something that is abstract. It's very real. I'm from Kenya, and in sub-Saharan Africa, 50% of crops are getting wasted because of the drought crisis. Being in Uganda, I find that there's so much food everywhere. There's so much plenty of food, but this is not the same reality in sub-Saharan Africa. In West Africa, families have lost their homes because of floods, and they've had to rebuild their homes. And so the reality of the climate crisis is something that I'm very passionate about right now. I had an opportunity 2 months ago to train with the Climate Reality Project, where we learned about the importance of also adding the message of hope in the climate crisis conversation. So like it doesn't sound like an apocalyptic conversation. Like I can see the faces you have right now are like giving doomsday, and it's not the case. And so with my company, Green Energy Nest, what we're doing is to highlight the solutions that are actually driving climate forward businesses to receive investments. There are so many amazing opportunities in clean energy right now, with solutions that are born on the continent, with solutions that are also working outside of the continent that can be able to power our great economy as Africans. Africa has access to 60% of the world's solar power, and we are sitting on it. And so my invitation to you is this: when you see a problem in your surrounding community, or when you see an injustice, ask yourself the question, where are the leaders? And I'm sorry to break it to you, but we are the ones. We are the ones. And when I look back at my story, I see that the underlying thing was, honestly, God time has been on my life all through. And I want to leave you with this verse, which is a favorite song of mine, that says, unless the Lord builds, the builders build in vain. And so my challenge to you is not to look away when you see an injustice, and to start to look at yourself as the solution that Africa needs. Thank you.